Friends, welcome you back once again in geological knowledge. So as you all know that we are dealing with the very important topic related to petrology, and in petrology especially we are dealing with igneous petrology, and so far we have discussed I think 3 or 4 videos related to the basics of igneous petrology as well as the composition and texture of igneous rocks, and we have talked one video also about the forms of igneous rock bodies, okay, in which we have talked about the basics of igneous rock bodies, means how many types of rock bodies are there, extrusive and intrusive. And in intrusive we have again talked about the discordant as well as the concordant igneous rock bodies, and the very important rock bodies like lopolith, laccolith, phacolith and sill, which are very important from the exam point of view, the basics about them and how they are formed, means which type of structure, in which type of structure they are being formed, okay, like laccolith, which is dome shaped, and lopolith, that is saucer shaped in structure, and bismuth, okay, that is crystalline, okay, that is cylindrical in nature, and that's a part of laccolith. So that we have talked about in the previous video, and in today's discussion we will discuss other very related important questions related to the forms of igneous rock bodies, okay. So let's start our discussion. So this will be the second part of forms of igneous rocks, and the very first and the very important question that is dealing with the intrusive bodies in which the injection of lava occurs without any influence of dip and strike is known as, means the intrusive rock bodies in which the lava is get injected and occurs without any influence of dip and strike of the bed or dip of the strike of the host rock. So option being concordant igneous rock bodies, discordant rock bodies, non-cordant bodies and unconformities. So all those intrusive bodies that have been injected into the strata without being influenced by their structural disposition. And if we talk about the structural disposition, means so that is the dip and strike of the host rock or the dip or the strike of the bed, okay, if bed or the lamellae, whatever you say, and thus traverse across or oblique to the bedding planes, etc. These are grouped as discordant rock bodies or discordant bodies. And previously in the first video, we have already talked about the difference, basic difference between discordant as well as the concordant rock bodies. So discordant rock bodies, these are those which cut through the overlying strata, and best example being the batholith, stocks and dikes. And if we talk about the concordant bodies, so these lie in between the rock beds, and such bodies don't show traverse transgressive relationship to the rocks they invade, okay. And best example being the sills as well as the lopolith, laccolith or bismuth or phacolith, okay. So the basic difference is very important, as we can say, as we can see in the description box, that is all those intrusive bodies that have been injected into the strata without being influenced by the structural disposition and thus traverse across or oblique, not parallel to the beddings or not parallel to the host rock. Has there been parallel to the host rock or in between the beds, we should have called them concordant rock bodies, but because they are cutting across or oblique in nature, that's why we are calling them discordant rock bodies, okay. And these are grouped as discordant rock bodies. So this is very important and very factual question also. If you understand the basic concept, then it will be very easy for you to answer this particular question, okay. So they get the injection of lava that occurs without any influence of dip and strata of dip and the strike of the rock bed or the host rock, okay. So correct option here is option B, that is discordant bodies. Next question is the example not belonging to discordant body is. So here are four options: dikes, volcanic necks, bismuths, or the batholiths. Okay. So as we all know, that is in the previous video we have talked about the bismuth, that is a type of laccolith, which is again a type of concordant body. Okay, so how you can define bismuth? Okay, so this is a broken intrusive body. In simple terms, you have to understand it as a broken intrusive igneous rock body. And bismuths are more or less vertical as well as cylindrical bodies that cross-cut adjacent sediments bounded by the steep faults, okay, and upfaulted by the arcuate faults, okay, and that's why they are considered as the conical in form or the cylindrical in form. Okay, so these are type of laccolith. So the dike, volcanic necks as well as the batholiths, these are usually the widely studied types of discordant bodies. Okay, but if we talk about, as the question being, the example not belonging to the discordant rock body, that is bismuth. Okay, so here the correct option is option C, that is bismuth. Okay. Next question that deals with the question number 3, which discordant body is columnar or like column shaped in structure? Dikes, bismuths, volcanic necks, or the batholiths? So this is very evident, and you all know that is the dikes, they are columnar in nature. Okay, but details are very important for one to understand, because question is very easy but you don't understand the basics of the dikes or how they occur and what are their processes of occurrence, so that will be very tough for you to understand the other questions. This question is very easy. Okay, it looks like one of the very easiest question, but our uh, motto is not to just discuss the easiest question, though the question looks like very easy, but you will have to understand the process of its formation, its basics. Okay, so you must understand firstly what is a dike. So we can define in simple terms, a dike is a wall like igneous rock body that essentially cut across the strata of the pre-existing rocks. Okay, so it must cut across the strata of the pre-existing rocks, and dikes are often vertical or steeply inclined in nature, and their thickness that varies from a few centimeters to 100 meters or more than that. And dikes tend to occur in groups where they run parallel to one direction or radial to a center. Okay, so sometimes they occur or they tend to occur in groups where they run parallel to one direction or radial to center. Okay, and the types of dikes, a very important type of dike that have a circular outcrop and a conical form is known as ring dike. Okay, so this question has already been asked in the examination, that the dike which have a circular outcrop and a conical form is known as ring dike. Okay, and those which have the inverted conical form and circular outcrops are known as cone sheets. Okay, and what they represent? So the dikes probably represent a, or they represent a crustal fracture into which the magma was injected. Okay, so this is the basics about the dikes, and in simple terms the same is given in the description box, as you can see. So dikes may be defined as a columnar bodies of igneous rocks that cut across the bedding plane or unconformities or cleavage planes and similar structures. Okay, so the correct option here is option A, that is dikes. Next one, texture shown by the dikes is, means which type of texture is shown by dike? Equigranular texture, directive texture, intergrowth texture, or all type of textures. So if we talk about the composition, if we have to know the texture of a particular rock body, firstly we will have to understand the composition of the rock, because the texture of a particular rock body that we have already discussed, that is based upon the mutual interrelationship of the grains, the size of the grains, or the shape of the grains. Okay, so in composition, dikes are generally made up of hypabyssal rocks, and the very important hypabyssal rocks, that these are dolerites, okay, porphyrites, or the lamprophyres, and they showing the all textures between glassy and phaneritic. Okay, because they are hypabyssal in composition, means occurring just below the surface of the earth, in the interior of the earth. These are known as hypabyssal rocks. So, and they show the texture between glassy and phaneritic texture. Okay, so the correct option here is option D, that is the texture shown by the dikes, that is all types of textures. Next one is, there is a statement given here and you have to answer it out whether it's true or false. Dikes tend to occur individually. So a statement is saying dikes tend to occur individually, whether this statement is true or false. So dikes generally tend to occur in groups or in sets, and thus the term dike set, that is used for a couple of parallel and closely spaced dikes. Okay, dikes, they generally tend to occur in groups, as we have talked previously, that when we were talking about the definition of dikes or the important points about dikes, where they have discussed that dikes tend to occur in groups when they run parallel to one another, okay, or radial to a center. Okay, so the correct option, that is the given statement, is false. Okay, because they generally occur in groups. Next one is, when the vents of quiet volcanoes become sealed within the intrusion that leads to, means when the vents of quiet volcanoes, they become sealed with intrusions that leads to the formation of dikes, extrusion, batholiths, or the volcanic necks. So correct option here is volcanic necks. And why? So what happens that in some cases, vents of quiet volcanoes, they have become sealed up with the intrusions, and such concealed intrusions, they are termed as volcanic necks or volcanic plugs. Okay, so it's very important for one to understand the formation. If you have understood the formation of particular topic, then it will be very easy for you to understand the correct statement or the correct option. Okay, so what are the volcanic necks? So a volcanic plug, it's also known as volcanic neck and volcanic plug. So a volcanic plug, that can be determined or can be defined as a vertical cylindrical shaped igneous rock body that has a roughly oval or the circular cross section, and that represents the vent of an extinct volcano, and volcanic plugs or volcanic necks, that range in diameter from a few hundred meters to a kilometers or more than that, because they can be on micro scale or they can be mega scale. Okay, extensively exposed. So the correct option here is volcanic necks. Okay, and you don't have to just be confused. You must know that is volcanic necks and volcanic plugs, both are the same terms. Okay, so correct option here being a option D. Next one is, the bodies which show both concordant and discordant relationship are known as dikes, batholiths, sills, and phacoliths. So correct option here is option C, batholiths, as you can see in the description box. But again the question is that how they are formed and why we are discussing these terms. Okay, so that is important for one to understand. So a batholiths can be defined, or they are the large intrusive igneous rock bodies that have transgressive relationship with the adjacent country rocks, and their diameter that is usually 100 kilometers, okay, or more than that, and their outcrop at the surface is roughly circular or oval in shape. And if we talk about in cross section how they look like, so in cross section batholiths possess steep outward dipping contact, and they are thought to be bottomless, means their bottom is unknown. Okay, and the composition of batholiths we all know that is granitic or granodiorites. Okay, so they are generally made up of granite rocks. So batholiths are huge bodies of igneous masses that show both concordant as well as the discordant relationship with the country rocks. Okay, so that is very important fact about batholiths, that is that show concordant as well as discordant both types of relationship. Okay, so here the correct option being the option C, batholith. Next one is, what should be the area and the depth respectively for an igneous body to be called a batholith? Okay, you have to tell that what should be the area as well as the depth respectively for an igneous rock body to be called as batholith. Option A, 100 square kilometer and depth not traceable. B, 10 square kilometers and depth up to 100 kilometers. Option C, that is not traceable and depth up to 10 kilometers. D, 50 kilometer and depth of 10 kilometers. So as in the previously we have talked about, that is their diameter of the batholiths that is usually hundreds of kilometers or more than that. And we have also talked about that is in outcrop section the batholiths they possess steep outwards dipping contacts, and they are thought to be bottomless in its structure. So now you would have understood that what is the correct option. So option A is the correct one, that is they are 100 square kilometers and occurs up to a depth of not traceable. Okay, so depth is not traceable, that is they are bottomless. And same is given in the description box. The dimension of batholiths that vary considerably, but it's generally agreed that to qualify as a batholith, the igneous mass should be greater than 100 square kilometers in its diameter or in area, and its depth should not be traceable because they are bottomless. Okay, so correct option here is option A. Next one is, what is the term used for a batholith when surface area is less than 100 kilometer? The term used for a batholith when the surface area is less than 100 kilometers: dikes, stock, sock, or the sillets. So correct option is stock. Okay, but what are stock? That is very important for one to understand. So the irregular igneous rock masses of batholiths habit are called as stock. Okay, and they are of smaller size and their diameter is usually between 10 to 20 kilometer in depth. So 10 to 20 kilometers. And the term boss that is applied to those stocks which have an approximately circular outcrop. Okay, and same is given in the description box. So when the surface area of batholith mass that is less than 100 kilometer and is commonly termed as stock, and when such stock has a roughly circular outcrop, then it's distinguished as a boss. Okay, so the correct option here is, very evidently you can now answer this question, that is option B. Option B, that is stock. Next one is majority of batholiths show which type of composition? Felsitic, granitic, ophitic or the directive. So we have talked about that is granitic composition they show. So in composition the batholiths may be made up of any type of igneous rock. That is not that it's not that is the granitic rock composition that is directed to the batholiths only. No, that is not. But generally they also exhibit many types of textures and structures. But as a matter of observation, majority of batholiths that show predominantly granitic composition, textures as well as structures. Okay, so majority of the batholiths they show granitic texture, structure and the composition. So correct option here is option B, granitic. And the next question is 11th one, pick the wrong statement about granitization. It is a set of process rather than the single step. Option B, that is it involves already existing sedimentary and the other rocks. Option C, it involves magmatic stage. Option D, it doesn't actually require magmatic stages. Okay. So granitization that may be broadly described as a set of processes by which the already existing sedimentary as well as the other rocks they are changed into granite like without actually passing through the magmatic stage. Okay, so option C, that is the it involves magmatic stage, that is the correct option. Okay, and question number 12 that deals with the volcanic sheets may be vertical. There is a statement given here, the volcanic sheets may vertical, whether this statement is true or false. So the volcanic sheets they may be horizontal or slightly inclined depending upon the original topography and the subsequent geological history of the area. Okay, so the statement that is the volcanic sheets may be vertical, so that is false. Okay, so they are generally the volcanic sheets they may be horizontal or slightly inclined depending upon the original topographic and the subsequent geological history of an area. So that means they cannot be vertical in nature. Okay, so the correct option here is option B, or you can say the given statement the word volcanic sheets may be vertical in nature, this is false. So this was our discussion I think. Okay, and we have discussed all the very basic or the important terms and the definitions as well, or the facts about the forms of igneous rocks. And I think if question is now asked from this area you will be able to answer that question. Okay, and in the next video we will talk about some other questions related to igneous petrology. Okay, thank you.